When my wife Maya and I moved to a small village in Malaysia, we were looking for a fresh start. The village, nestled between dense rainforests and sprawling paddy fields, seemed idyllic. The locals were friendly, and the slow pace of life was a welcome change from the chaos of the city. Little did we know that our dream of a peaceful life was about to turn into a nightmare. Our new home was a charming old wooden house on the outskirts of the village. It had a rustic charm, with a wide veranda and large windows that let in the cool breeze. We felt an eerie sense of history in the air, but we brushed it off as part of the house's character. One evening, while unpacking, I found a dusty old journal hidden behind a loose floorboard. The journal belonged to the previous owner, a midwife named Salma. As I skimmed through the pages, I discovered entries about a young woman named Aisha who had died during childbirth in the house many years ago. Salma wrote about strange occurrences and the haunting presence of a Pontianak, a vengeful spirit of a woman who died during childbirth. I dismissed the journal as superstitious nonsense, a relic of a bygone era. However, Maya was more open to the possibility. She grew up hearing tales of Pontianaks from her grandmother and was visibly disturbed by the journal's contents. That night, we heard the first of the whispers. It started as a faint murmur, almost indistinguishable from the rustling of the leaves outside. But soon, the whispers grew louder, filling the house with an eerie chorus of disembodied voices. We couldn't make out what they were saying, but the tone was unmistakably angry and mournful. Maya clung to me, her eyes wide with fear. "It's just the wind," I assured her, though my own heart raced. The next morning, I went to the village elder, Pak Rahim, hoping to find some logical explanation. He listened quietly as I recounted the events, and then solemnly shook his head. "This village has a dark history," he said. "Aisha's death was a tragedy, and her spirit never found peace. Salma tried to help her, but the Pontianak's wrath is not easily quelled. You must leave the house before it's too late." I left Pak Rahim's home feeling uneasy. That night, the whispers returned, more insistent and malevolent. Shadows flitted across the walls, and the temperature in the room dropped suddenly. Maya and I huddled together, too terrified to sleep. As the days passed, the hauntings escalated. We heard scratching at the windows, and objects in the house moved on their own. The smell of frangipani, a flower associated with death in Malay culture, filled the air. One night, I woke up to find Maya standing at the window, staring into the darkness. Her eyes were glazed over, and she was murmuring in a voice that wasn't her own. I pulled her away, but she struggled against me, her strength unnaturally strong. Finally, she snapped out of it, trembling and crying. "She wants us to leave," Maya whispered. "She wants her revenge." Desperate for answers, I turned to Salma's journal again. In one of the final entries, she mentioned a ritual to appease the Pontianak. It required finding Aisha's grave and performing a specific prayer. The grave was supposedly in the forest behind our house, overgrown and forgotten. Armed with a flashlight and the journal, Maya and I ventured into the forest. The night was pitch black, and the only sounds were the chirping of insects and our own labored breathing. After what felt like hours, we stumbled upon a clearing. There, under a gnarled tree, was a small, weathered headstone. The inscription read, "Aisha, beloved daughter and mother." We knelt by the grave and began the prayer, our voices trembling. As we finished, the air around us grew still. For a moment I thought it had worked, but then a cold breeze swept through the clearing, and I felt a presence behind me. Slowly I turned around and saw her. The Pontianak hovered above the ground, her white dress stained with blood, and her long black hair covering her face. Her eyes, glowing with an unholy light, locked onto mine. She let out a blood-curdling scream, and the world seemed to darken. Maya and I ran as fast as we could, but the Pontianak pursued us, her wails echoing through the forest. We burst out of the trees and into the safety of our house, slamming the door behind us. But we knew it was only a temporary reprieve. That night, we packed our belongings, ready to leave the village forever. As we loaded the car, I glanced back at the house one last time. In the window, I saw Aisha's sorrowful face, watching us with a mixture of sadness and anger. We drove away, leaving the haunted past behind us. But the experience left us scarred. I often think about Aisha and wonder if her spirit ever found peace. The village of our dreams had become a place of nightmares, and we learned that some histories are best left undisturbed. As I write this, I still hear the whispers sometimes, especially on quiet nights. They serve as a haunting reminder of the Pontianak's revenge and the dark secrets that lie buried beneath the surface of seemingly idyllic places.